Hello folks, and welcome to this video on building a simple model on Radon 222. I just wanted to walk you through the process once so that you could see all the different Stella Architect tools that you're going to be using to develop the rest of the models that you're going to be developing. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the white space, and this is going to open my model settings on the left. And by default, my model settings are not set up to what I want. And when I read this assignment, it's on Radon 222, and when I read through, it says that each day there's going to be a decay rate. So one of the things I know that the time units by default are months, and what I want to do is set this up to be days. And I've got that set for days, and the time, I usually like to start with 0. And I'm going to go, and I'm guessing because the assignment does not describe exactly how many days I should be running this over. I'm going to make a guess right now. This guess could be wrong, and I might have to come back and adjust this. And what I want it to do is to be long enough so all the dynamics of the simulation will have time to play out. And I can leave my DT at 1/4. This is how often each day a calculation will be run by Stella Architect. And I'm going to come over here now that that is set, and I'm going to click on my stock, and I'm going to bring my stock down, and I'll click stock, and I'll make this just a bit larger. I like to square it up. And my stock is going to be Radon 222. And it's saying that it's turning into lead, but what I'm really concerned with is the decay rate of Radon. So I'm just going to leave it at this for now. Maybe I'll square this up just a little more. And when I grab on, I like having my variable names in the middle of the stocks. But I should be able to grab on to, yeah, and I'll be able to move it around. I could put the variable name anywhere around the stock, but I'm going to keep it centered in the middle. So I've got my stock set up now. And there's a decay rate, so there's going to be an outflow from my radon. So I'm going to go up to my rate variable up here and click on it once. And I want to make sure that I'm dead center or just inside the stock. And I'm going to click and I'm going to hold my shift key down. I'm going to slide to the right. And for variable name, I'm going to call this the, just decay would be good enough. So I've labeled that decay. And I want to make sure that when I start out that I'm on the stock. Otherwise, I could be off the stock. Sometimes if I click this and slide this, it could be underneath it and not connected to the stock. So I want to make sure that I am connected to my stock. And I've got the decay. The other variable that it says in here, if I'm reading this correctly, it says, as it decays, it can, no, not that, but each day, 18.3% of radon decays in this way. So what this is telling me is I need a variable that I have to add in here. That's a constant. And I'm going to go up to my converter here. I'm going to click once. And I'm going to come down and click. And you can see that there's a circle here. And I have to come up with a variable name. And it's 18.3%. That tells me it's going to be a fraction. And when I'm naming these things, I try to be clear on what they are. You can name them whatever you want. You need to understand that name, and you need to be able to describe it to others. In this case, I'm going to call it the fractional decay rate. And I will leave it at that. The other thing is I find these circles to be a little bit messy. You can do whatever you want with this. What I'm going to do is double click on the white space. I'm going to come down to the right to my Model Styles tool on the bottom right, and I'm going to click and open that up. I'm going to go up to my converter size, and I'm going to click on the median, and I'm going to go to Name Only. And you can see that circle has disappeared, and I just have the this variable name is all. The other thing I like to do is square these up. So I'm going to click on and put my cursor right in front of decay and hit the return. So now I have the fractional decay rate. And now what I have to do is I have to sort of start putting values in here. And I think that's the next step I'll do. So if I double click on my radon right now, it's going to open this window on the right. I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm putting equations in, so it's x squared. And with the stock, it said I was starting out with 100 kilograms or 100 kgs. So I'm going to put 100 the value. This is my initial value for the stock. All stocks need initial values. I'm going to go down in the units and put kg in. And that's going to be fine. And then I'm going to go up to my fractional decay rate and double click on this. And it said it was 18.3%, which I'm not going to write percentages or anything in here. I have to convert this, so it's going to be 0.183 is what it is to a fraction. And this is a fraction, so it's definitely going to be dimensionless. And if you look at it, it says each day, so this is dimensionless per day. And I'm going to go down to my units and type DIM, and then backslash, which is representing per, and then I'm going to type in the days. And this dimensionless, I could put a 1 in here and that would be equal to dimensionless. I'm pretty sure I could put a fraction in here and it would be equal to dimensionless. And now I have to figure out, I have to calculate my decay. And what information am I going to use to calculate the decay? And it seems it's going to be a function of my Radon 222 and the fractional decay rate. So I'm going to go up here to the connector variable and click on it once. I'm going to click on my stock, and I'm going to come over to the decay and connect to the decay. And this is really an information link. It's just providing information to do a calculation, and decay is a function of Radon. It's also going to be a function of the fractional decay rate. I'm going to click on the fractional decay rate and come down and connect to that. And now I have everything I need to calculate my decay. And I'm going to double click on the decay and open that up. And up above here it says required inputs. So what I have to do is figure out how the decay is calculated. What is, the function seems like it's a little too sophisticated. What's the arithmetic I need really? And typically it's going to be multiplication, division, addition, or subtraction. And that's what we're going to start out with. It can get a little more complicated, but I think at this level, this is all you really need to know. And because it says fractional decay rate, I'm going to figure that this is going to be a multiplication. Anytime it's a fraction, it most likely should be a multiplication. So I'm going to click on Radon. Radon shows down here where I'm putting my equation. I can click on the time sign, and I can go up and click on the fractional. And you can see the units here are kgs per day. And this sort of makes sense too. I'm taking Radon, which is the kg, and I'm multiplying it by this dimensionless per day, and that gives me days. And one of the things I know that will always occur is that the rates are going to be whatever time unit you're multiplying it by divided into what the stock is. So it's going to be the stock over the time. And in this case, we're simulating in days, so we should be set. So once that's done, I can click anywhere, and you can see the triangle has disappeared because I have an equation in here now. I will go up to my graph. I'm going to put a graph in here and click, and I can get rid of this gray area by just moving a variable into it, right? It's just giving me more of a place to actually work. I'm going to double click on my graph. I'll go to the plus, and this window is going to open that provides me with all the variables in the model that I can include. I'm just interested in the decay rate, so I'm just going to click on that stock of Radon 222. I like to show numbers, and I want to do a comparative graph for now, so I'm going to click on comparative. The other thing I'm not happy with right now is the idea that a fraction of a day. I'm not too concerned about having that. So I'm going to go to my wrench in the bottom settings and click on that, and I can just check my X label is what it is. And if I go up to 6, there it is. I've gotten rid of the fractions, so I'm happy with that. I can leave 3 on my Y axis. I'm going to go down to show grid, and my X grids I'm going to make equal to 6 so it matches my X labels. And then in this case, I could make it, I'm going to make it just so there's 3. There's one along the 0, there's one along the top, and there's one in the middle. And now I'm ready to simulate. If I go down to the bottom left-hand corner, there's this triangle, and I'm just going to hit the run button. And I can actually see the decay here. And because it's a comparative graph, I can do other runs. And for now, I'm going to double click on the white space. And the assignment asks, what happens if we change this to like 1/50th? So that we're doing many more calculations. So the assumption is that this is going to be much more accurate because every day I'm doing 50 calculations. And because this is a function of the stock, this will be more accurate. And let's see if it makes a difference. And if I simulate this, there's just a slight, ever so slight difference here is all, but it's really ending up in the same spot. Of course, it would start in the same spot. So for practical purposes, there may be very, very slight numerical differences by changing the dt in the simple model, but it really does not have an impact. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to go back and just make it the 1/4. In this case, dt does not have, and it turns out that selecting the 25 was probably pretty good in my run, just a lucky guess on my part. And that this is the assignment. This is what I wanted you to build. And the other thing I'll show you here, if you think about it, there's a balancing feedback loop here. And if I simulate the model, and I leave this blue line down, you can see how this red line becomes thick. And I have a blue line here. This is the feedback loop that's dominating the structure. And there's a minus sign here and a plus sign here, that this is a balancing loop. And this link from the fractional decay going to the decay just stays very thin. Nothing's changing here, so the simulation software is only picking up things that are changing. And this is changing because radon is decaying. This is the feedback loop that's generating the behavior that we're observing. And I'm going to show you how to label this relatively easy now. And there's one other thing you should notice, that the decay is going back. There's a minus sign here. And that even though there's no arrowhead, if you were drawing a causal loop diagram, it would be the radon 222 is going to connect to the decay. It's going to be a plus sign because if this increases, radon 222 increases, the decay rate would increase. And if decay increases, then the radon 222 is going to go down, and that's why there's a minus link, and that would be the causal loop. And actually, I can show you this quickly. If I click and highlight the feedback loop that I want, I can go up to the Create CLD, and here is a causal loop diagram. And although it doesn't have the label in the center here, what you can see is that the red link is going to be positive, the blue is negative, and there may be a negative sign hidden down in here that we just can't see. Actually, it is. It's sort of grayed out, but it's below the variable name. I don't know. I don't think I can move these variable names. But this would be a causal loop diagram that we're seeing. And if I go back, I'm going to go up here and click on this icon and go to stock and flow view, and I've gone back to the model. And I think that's it for this video. This is how to build the Radon 222 model. What you should have taken away from this is these, building the stocks, building the converters, and hooking the links to the variables that matter in order to be able to get the equations that you need. If you have questions or anything, you should feel free to contact me. Hopefully this is helpful. I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.